Okay, so now that you have cut out your ugly creature, you can remove your pattern piece, and now you're looking for the parts for what you need to make it. So I need to make this mouthpiece, and I've made that. I made the little heart that I want for the nose on this guy. I have the eye shapes, and I went in the yarn, I'm in the button box, and I have a choice. These aren't exactly the same, but they're very close. This one is a closer matching color, but it's a different style, so you just need to decide. I will tell you that the buttons that we have will not be exact, and because I'm looking for it to be a little bit ugly or different, I think I like that it's a different style of button. And then I'm cutting out a belly shape, a belly color. So I'm gonna take those out now, and I chose this one to be two colors, one tan and one brown. I'm going to make the brown side his front, so I'm going to take that apart and only have this side now. And so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to sew on the belly. And so I need to get out a needle, and the needle has a little hole in the top. It's called the eye, which we use these in weaving as well. And then I have thread. Right? You'll notice the thread's a lot thinner than yarn. So I thread the needle, pull it through, and then I'm going to double it. So I pull it so that both ends of the string are together. See how they're together? And I'm going to wrap it around my finger 2 times, and then I roll it off my finger. See, I roll it and pull. And that makes a really nice knot on the end. And I bring it so that the needle is all the way to the opposite end. So there's my needle. And now I'm ready to sew. I don't want to see the knot, so I'm going to put that on the back of my fabric, push it through, and pull. Sometimes you get little loops in the back. You want to pull it all the way until that knot is in the end. And then you're going to just sew it. And you just want to sew it down and up, push. You don't want to pull too far or it will be a little mess. Okay, down and up. Pull gently. You can choose, I chose to do green. I want my stitching to actually show, but I could have done it in blue and then it wouldn't have shown at all. I could have found a color that was similar. I like that it's going to show. I want it to be contrasting. And up, and make sure when you're going up that it's going through the new piece of fabric or it won't hold it, right? So I'm going down into the brown right next to it and up into the blue. Boom. Right, I want to go all the way around. You could choose to glue your parts on with tacky glue, and that's fine. You'll get a different effect. You won't get the stitching, and it will be stiff. It won't be soft and cuddly. So if you want it to be soft and cuddly, you're going to need to take the time to do the stitching. And down into the brown, and up into the blue. Now if you pull it too tight, it does this. Alright, that's not a big deal. You just wiggle it back flat. Just pull the stitching gently to flatten it out. Alright, as long as it's flat, you're ready to go again. Just don't pull hard, that's all. Push in through the brown and up through the blue. Pull it gently, down into the brown and up into the blue. I'm not doing teeny tiny stitches because it's just to hold this in place. So this would be a tacking stitch and up. And now I've come all the way around. So I'm going to go down because I don't want my knot on the front. And now I'm ready to make a knot because you have to have a knot on both ends or it will come apart. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my knot with my needle. And you see how I have this loop here? I'm going to go back through this loop and pull it. Pull it. And I'm going to go one more because we always do double knots. And now I'm going to go into this loop. So you did one loop, pull it in through this one, and now I'm going to pull it tight. Boom. And now I have a knot. So I can cut this off. And now I'm ready to do my next part. Now I'm going to need a knot in the end. I line up my 2 pieces to the end of the string or thread, pull it, and I'm ready. I am going to be putting the eyes on next. And I can kind of cheat because I can sew on the button and the eye at the same time. So again, I don't want to see my ugly knots. I'm going to go on the bottom, underneath, and I'm going to go through the purple. Pull it, pull it, pull it. And I'm going to go in the hole of the needle. I mean, in the hole of the button, sorry. And then down in the other buttonhole. And through the purple, through the brown. And that's all I really have to do. One time will be enough. So I flip it over. I go in my knot. And what do? I go into this loop. And so I pull it tight from the new loop, go into this loop, and I pull it tight all the way. And trim it. I'm going to do that for my other eye also. And I might be able to get away with this style for the nose. Let's check it out in just a minute. All right, so I want to kind of line it up, so I'm going to poke the hole where I want the eye to go, where it would match with the other eye. Go through my purple. Now this is a different button. See, this button doesn't have holes on the front, it has holes in the back. The challenge with these is sometimes they are too small, and it is drat. Let's see, will this one fit my needle? No, yes. No, it does not. So I have to find a different button or a different needle. I'll be back. Okay, so I got a thinner needle. The challenge with the thinner needle is the eye is smaller, it's a little harder for me to thread, but I double checked and it will go through this button. So I put it through the back of the button and I go back into my fabric and I'm back on the back. Same thing. This is such a key thing. I'm going to go over it again instead of fast forwarding. Go through your knot and you have this back. All your stitches will come out and your buttons will fall off if you don't do a good knot on the back. So I go into my knot, pull my string, go into the loop. This is my second loop, so now I'm ready to just pull it straight and cut. Now, my thread is getting short. Whenever your thread is shorter, almost is shorter than 2 needle lengths, it's really time to get a new piece. So I'm going to discard that and thread my needle with a new piece. I'm going to stick with the green. I kind of like the way that's looking. So I get the width of the table. I cut the string, not the length, the shorter side of the table. I'm going to go back to my fatter needle. It's easier to thread. And fatter eye hole is really what I'm talking about. So I thread it. I find my 2 ends. Line up the 2 ends, wrap it around my finger twice, roll it off my finger, and pull. And I have a lovely knot. I've got a lot of practice at this, so I'm good. By the way, I cut mine out using our regular little Fisker scissors, and it was not too hard, so you just have to persevere. So here is his little nose. I did it double colored, and so I'm going to actually put just a dot in the middle. And I'm just going to sew it right in the middle. 1 down and up. I'm going to do it one more time so it looks a little bit bigger. Because this is kind of like I could add details, right? I could sew in a design if I really wanted to. I'm just fine with getting it to stay. Notice I'm using the table sometimes to push my needle through. The bigger the eye of the needle, the harder it is to push through sometimes, especially with that challenging fabric, but it'll still work. Cut it off. And now I am done decorating the front of my bear. Now my other bear, I did do a second bear here. I made it out of the orange fabric. And this bear, I chose to do 2 different eyes. So he's going to have one big eye and one little eye. This kind of could be a cool like piggy nose too, right? Maybe I think I might go with that instead. I totally changed my idea. I'm going to make it a piggy eye. And to match, I'm going to make 2 eyes out of this cute little green, fuzzy green. So I'm going to cut this out. Again, it's not so hard. Notice I cut out both eyes together. I could have drawn on it with a pencil. I cut them out together so that they're both symmetrical, right and left match. Okay, I think that was a good choice. I like that. So I will sew this on, and then I'll show you how to sew your front and back together. So go ahead and finish decorating the front of your ugly creature. Okay, so I'm ready to now sew the body. You see I have my other one out here. Here's the one I was working on before. I'm switching it over to this one just because this is the challenging fabric and I just wanted to show you how to work with it. So I threaded my needle. It's a brand new piece of thread. It's as wide as the table. I chose orange so it kind of matches, but it doesn't have to. You might like to have it a contrasting color. I'm going to sew it, and the only thing I need to think about is stuffing it. So I'm going to start sewing right around the hand. So I'm going to sew it, and you sew it up through both pieces of fabric and pull. If you find that the 2 parts are coming apart when you're sewing, we could put a couple staples in it and hold it together and take the staples out later. I feel that because this is actually a floppy fabric, mine are staying together quite nicely. So here's how we sew it. We're going to pull it through both pieces of fabric, up the back and up through the front, and pull. I like to do this, it's called a whip stitch, and we just go up and up every time, not that up and down, up and down. I find that this is easier to control, and I'm not going to end up with any open parts on the sides. We can't have open parts between the front and the back because our stuffing will come out. We're going to stuff this little guy, and so we want to make sure that we attach it around. If you do humongous stitches, all right, and a humongous stitch might be if I went from here and now I jump all the way to over there. Well, that's going to leave a gap, and that gap is probably going to leak out stuffing. So take the time, it's not a rush, and try and go through the front and the back, and try and keep your stitches about as far away as your pinky, all right? You can use that as a measurement. Your little pinkies will be perfect distance for this. So I'm going to finish sewing this, and then I'll show you how it ends. Or if I run out of string, I will put the video back on and show you what we do, all right? So start sewing with your brand new piece of thread, and remember that you want to go through, see, I'm going through the back into the front, all the way around, from the back into the front. All right, get to work. Okay, so I finished sewing both of them, and I will say they both had their challenges. This one was very easy to get the needle through this type of fabric, but it was very floppy, so it was hard for me to keep track, make sure I go through the front and the back. This one was a different kind of challenge because it was harder to poke through, but it stayed together nicely. So I'm going to start with this one to show you how to stuff it. So I've sewn it all the way around and stopping here. I'm going to leave this part open so I can stuff it. So we have a big container of stuffing, and you're going to take it and you want to rip off small little chunks of stuffing, and you want to go to the farthest part and use your thumb and poke it right into all those little parts, like the feet and into the arms, and you want to stuff it in there. If you're having a hard time, now you guys have smaller fingers, so I bet you can do it easier than me, but if it is a challenge to get it in, well, you can always use a pencil. So just take your pencil and poke it right in there, getting it all the way into those feet or arms or antenna or ears or whatever it is you've created for your creature. So we're stuffing it all the way around into those little arms and the head. to get that. Once you've stuffed it all the way, you have to make sure that every part is done because you can't go back once you seal it up. So I'm coming over here and I'm stuffing it into this arm. And you decide, do you want him to have a big fat belly or do you want it to have a flat belly? That depends on how much stuffing you put into it. So, and this is also a time where you find out, did you get all the parts sewn together? Or you're stuffing guts coming out of your animal because you did not fill it all the way. So this is the time to find out. Real important, get a bunch in that neck too. The neck tends to be a bendy place that you'll end up with it being floppy if you don't put enough in the neck. So I'm stuffing it in here. I got to get this ear stuffed. Stuff it in. I'm going to close it up a little bit because my hand doesn't need to get all the way in there anymore. So I'm now getting my needle out and I'm going to continue sewing the side again, front and back. Go through both pieces of fabric, front and back, pushing it in. And if it's a little challenging, push it onto the table so you can poke it through. Push it onto the table to poke it through. You can do this. Okay. Coming around. Now I have a nice little space there. I can shove in some more stuffing. Take some more. Put it in there. And test it out. See, is that enough? Am I good? Do I want more? Do I want less? I'm actually pretty happy with that. So I'm going to finish sewing it, coming around the corner here. Let's see, I think I might have enough thread on here too. So I can finish with this side and make a knot. Because you don't want to have it too short or you can't make a good knot on the end. Remember, we're looking for 2 needle lengths. And I'm just about there. So I'm going to go into my knot in the beginning, my very start. So it's like a racetrack. I've come all the way around to the beginning. And I'm going to go in, make another loop, and then back in my other loop. Pull it through and snip it. Now I'm going to hand in my needle, put it on the magnetic strip, and here is my ugly doll or ugly creature. I can add accessories to it if I want. At this time, I could put a scarf on it, right? I could cut a piece of fabric in a strip, or I could take a ribbon. I like this though, it's contrasting. I could take it and tie it around on him like that. Okay, you could put something on the ears, whatever else you want to add to it at this time. So that one is stuffed. This one I'm ready to stuff now, and I will then sew it up when I'm done. And here is my ugly creature. Good luck. Hope you have fun with this.